you is, are you ready to accept the call of a mentor?
Yep. Yeah. Luke 15, verse, I think you want to start at 24, you said?
Yeah, yes, ma'am. I see some people helping others get on, so thank y'all very much for doing that. And again, we're going from Luke chapter 15, verse. We're going to start at verse 20, verse 24. So, whatever translation Bible you have, just turn to it and join us. And then we're gonna, my wife and I, we study. When we study the Word of God, she goes from one translation, I go from the other. I'm going to be coming to you from the New Living tonight, and she'll share from what translation do you have, babe?
Amplified.
Amplified. That means it gets louder. So just want to say hello to the family that's on. Holly, hello. Sharon, hello. Brazina's, hello. Sister Kim, hello. And any others. Hey, Blake and Elizabeth, we love you guys too. Bless y'all for taking a moment to be with us tonight. And then I ask you to take a moment and hit the share link and invite others on. We also, hey, Pastor Nancy G, tell Sister Mary we said hello. Maybe she's there joining in tonight too. So we also ask you to share, hit the share button, and just invite the family members of yours or friends that just might be just sitting around tonight and could want to grab a word. So with that being said, babe, do you want to start reading first? Or you want me to read first?
You can read first.
It's okay. I can go second. I don't have a problem.
I want to make sure you are coming from where you say you
All right. So Luke chapter 15, verse 20. I'm glad you said that because I've already started with 23 in my brain, but it's 24 we said we're going to come from, right? So somebody go ahead and type that in the chat for us. Luke chapter 15, verse 24 is where we're going to start. And again, we're leaving off from where Pastor Rodney and Aretha Hammonds left off on Sunday. The story just blessed us, but we're going to talk about the prodigal son's brother tonight. Verse 24 says this: "For this son of mine was dead and has now returned to life. He was lost, but now he is found. So the party began." Read that one, babe, in yours.
Verse 24. Now, if you don't know the story of the prodigal son, one of the sons wanted their inheritance early. He wanted his inheritance early. He asked his dad, "Give me my stuff," and he left with his inheritance, squandered it, was in a terrible, terrible, destitute place, pretty much with the pigs, eating what the pigs ate.
Yeah.
And came to his senses, as Pastor Rodney said Sunday, came to his senses, and the word says that finally came to his senses.
Yeah.
And went back home, thinking that his dad would not accept him as a son, but he would just work for his dad. He just wanted to be home, and his dad.
The worst is he wanted to be one of the servants.
He want to work for him. Yeah. So, and unpaid servant, and he, his dad welcomed him home before he even got all the way to the house, saw him afar off, opened his arms, and that's how Jesus does that. I know I'm trying not to get into your word.
No, you go ahead.
But welcomed him afar off and had a party, slaughtered a fatted calf and got him a robe and a ring.
Come on.
Brought him back into sonship. And this is not where we're going, but isn't that somehow God does that to us? Even if we were to go to the left when he said go right, when we come to our senses, he doesn't shun us. He doesn't, make us go away. He says, "Welcome home."
That's good.
Welcome home. And he opens his arms and I saw you coming. I saw you coming, and I'm here for you. So that's what this father did. And however, in verse 24 it says, and the brother was like, what are we doing? Why are we having a party for him? You know what he did?
Yeah.
Are you celebrating what he did?
His sinful nature.
Yeah.
He went all took. He not only took it. He made our father split up half of it. Give me my half, and he took his half and rolled on out.
Yep. So he said, 24 says, "For this son of mine was as good as dead." This is amplified, and is alive again. He was lost and has been found. So they began to celebrate. It's so much in those verses. How God celebrates when one soul comes to Christ.
Come on.
The heavens just celebrate. Angels celebrate. it's so much in this, but in this story, we are going to celebrate. So, like I said, Amplified says, "For this son of mine was as good as dead, and is alive again. He was lost and has been found." And they began to celebrate. And I read it again. It's like before we came to Christ, we were as good as dead.
Yeah, that's good.
We were as good as dead. And then when we came home, and we became alive, when we gave our life over to Christ, that's when we became alive. God says, "Now let's celebrate." Now let's celebrate. Let's have a party.
Let's have a party.
Because my daughter is home. My son is home.
And every time I hear that, what I hear, and you read me a couple of translations earlier, and it was just given when you was talking about the parables and how when just one of them they lose one of the day's wages, won't they sweep the whole house for that? So, and that's how heaven sees it. Heaven says, "What? Little Johnny just came back. Little Johnny just came in," and it says that. It's a huge party going on in your honor, man. So those of y'all that been down that road where you came to Christ, man, there was a big party going on in heaven because you came to Christ, because one person.
Yep.
And so, which leads us to where we're going. So, just
and you want to read 25?
Go ahead, man.
Okay, and 25. Let me see. Blake says we can all use a little humility. He was eating with the pigs. He was like, "That's as humble as you can get."
I don't know if you can get any humble, brother. That might be the lowest humility, because the Word of God says when He looked at the pods that they was feeding them, said they start to look good to Him. Wow. I'm like, man, and I've been in the country where they don't even have a name for that stuff they feed, but they call it slop. Slop. So. Sister Holly said he never leaves us no matter what, and he is so happy and joyful when we come back home. Yeah. Come on.
Yeah. Never leaves us. 25 says, now, then we get into the prodigal's brother. Now his older son was in the field, and when he returned and approached the house, he heard, this is amplified, he heard music and dancing. So he summoned one of the servants and began asking what this celebration meant. And he said to him, "Your brother has come home, and your father has killed the fattened calf, because he has received him back safe and sound." And I imagine that servant said that. He didn't say it like I just said it.
No.
He said it with this explosion, this happiness. Like, your brother's come home. Your dad,
your dad is so happy to kill the best calf. We got to understand the time that we're talking about. The fatted calf was like, that's a lot of food, man. They getting ready to feed the block, man. They get ready to feed the community. That's some of y'all been a part of our Thanksgiving feast that we've had at New Life over the years, and man, it's a lot of food. He went and got one whole calf. I've been trying to get somebody to just go in half and buy one of those with me for years, so I can put half of it in my freezer. And he killed the fatted calf for that feast that day. That means they finna invite everybody in the whole neighborhood over. Go ahead, babe.
Yes. And it says, your brother has come. Your father has killed a fattened calf because he has received him back safe and sound. Now, no matter, the verse I'm about to read, no matter how excited the servant was given that information, there's something that came over the brother. But the elder brother became angry and deeply resentful. And again, this is amplified, and was not willing to go in. He wasn't even going in the house. And his father came out and began pleading with him.
My translation said the older brother was angry and wouldn't go in, and his father came out and begged him to come in. And he begged him to come back in, begged him to be a part of this thing, man. And then, but what gets me is we're getting ready to go into what we're talking about, the other son for real now. But verse 29 says, but he replied, all these years I've slaved for you. And this is him talking to his dad. I've slaved for you. And never once refused to do a single thing you told me to do. And in all that time, you never gave me even one young goat. So he stepped down from the fatted calf to the young goat. He said, you never gave, and in all that time, you never gave me even one young goat for a feast with my friends. Man, my boys was coming over. You wouldn't even let me get one of your goats in the backyard to feed them with. Come on. So now I don't know how your translation read that, but that's how mine said that thing. So,
pretty much the same. But he said to his father, "Look!" Exclamation point. Look, these many years I have served you, and I have never neglected or disobeyed your command. Yet you have never given me so much as a young goat, so that I might celebrate with my friends. But when this other son of yours,
Wow.
not my brother,
Not my brother.
not my
Not my
brother,
younger brother. My little man. My
little
little brother. Like, come on, like this other son of yours, man.
when this other son of yours arrived, who has devoured your estate with immoral women, you slaughtered that fattened calf for him. It didn't say a fattened calf. It said that fattened calf.
That one. See there.
That one that was
the way it goes.
conceived.
Yeah, it's one that's set aside. One that you want to make huge for when you have this big, beautiful feast day. And that son's mine. It could have been like when I get married, or when I have my first child, or when my any of that stuff. But he said, man, he chose that one for this dude. Come on. Didn't you just watch him squander everything, his whole half of what you got that you gave to him? He just tore it up.
Yep.
And you're gonna let him come back, and you're gonna not only that, I can deal with you if you let him come back. But you went on and celebrated him too and called the whole neighborhood over. I'm down there feeding your darn hogs and your cows. You don't even give me no props for that.
Yep.
So this is where we want to transition at and really talk about his son and how, and I like to say of how when you have access to something. And sometimes we miss the access. Sometimes we miss. My wife often says that she says to me she said, I don't pray for you no more as my husband. I thank God for that. I don't pray for you no more as my kid's father. I pray for you as a son. That means that she's bestowed a new honor on me. Like, I see you, man, like this precious jewel to the father. And so, now listen to where I'm going with that. So when you get that kind of access from that, like I pray for you, like you a son of God, like, man, you can tap into everything that God is worth.
Yeah.
That's that kind of access we're getting ready to talk about. So it says, verse 30 says now, which Luke chapter 15, verse 30 says, yet when this son of yours comes back after squandering your money on prostitutes, you celebrate by killing the fatted cow. Verse 31 says, his father says, and I'd like for you to read your translation too. First of all, he realized he's talking to him out in the yard. He said he done came back. He done spent your money. He started naming stuff he's spending on prostitutes. He done spent all your money squandering it on prostitutes, drinking and hanging out. And then you're going to kill the fatted calf, the best thing we had in the house. And then verse 31 says his father said this. His father said to him, look, my dear son, you have always stayed by me, and everything I have is yours. Read yours, baby. Then I want to share something with y'all on that.
31 says, the father said to him, son, you are always with me, and all, keep going, and all that is mine is yours.
Listen, y'all, we got to catch this. He said, when they first start telling this story, when the younger son came to him and said, look here, I want my part. I want my half. Give me mine now. I don't want to wait till you dead. I want it now, and I want to roll out and do what I got to do. I got dreams. And dad says, okay, you got to understand. Now he takes the portion that he has for his two sons and he splits it down the middle, and he gives the younger son his and he gives the older son his. Now they don't say what the older son did at that time, but we know he go back to the field and work. The younger son goes out and blows his up. Now, but the next time we hear about this, when dad starts to explain this to his son, he says, his father said to him in verse 31, Luke 15:31, his father said to him, look, dear son, you got to hear this. Look, my precious son. Look, my beloved son. The word of God says in the living room, he says, look, my dear, dear son, you have always stayed by me. He's acknowledging, you ain't never left me.
Right.
You've done everything I've asked you to do.
You're right. You're right.
You're right. I'm not arguing that. He says, you're right. He says, and everything I have is yours. Now, somebody got to catch that. When his brother left, he asked for his half of those two guys' share. He took his and spent that. That means the older brother has his half of that. But his dad says, look, dear son, you have always stayed by me, and everything I have is yours. He says, that means the half that I gave you from you and your brother, that half you have. And then all that I got, you have access to too. Now, listen, a lot of times we think God done forgot you because we see somebody get promoted. We see somebody get this or get that. Instead, we ought to go shabbaking God because, man, I've been in my place. I'm going to get mine. A dear friend of mine once told me a story. Use an analogy. I said, man, God blessed me with this hot tub. And I told him this. I said, man, it's huge. I said, the temperature is right. You got to get you one of those. I said, you got to go buy you a hot tub, man. He said, I said, what you mean? He said, no. I said, so I thought maybe he didn't like my story, or maybe he was bothered by it or something. He said, no. He said, ain't we covenant brothers? I said, yeah, of course. He said, then
You got a hot tub?
you got a hot tub? I got a hot tub. He said, I don't need to go buy one. I got access. He says, which gate do you want me to use? Which access entry point should I come in? And that's what the dad was saying to him now. He says, son, I know you've been here. I know you've been serving. I know you've been washing the dishes. Or I know you've been cleaning up. I know you've been cutting the grass at the church. I know you've been washing the windows. I know you've been preaching. I know you've been serving. Daughter, I know that you've served with everything in you. Now, guess what? I'm not arguing with you about that. Everything I have, you have access to. Everything I have is yours. You now have access to come in and use it when you want. Which, you got to ask yourself, people of God, which access point are you going to use when God opens it up to you like that? Are you going to spend time being mad at your brother or your sister who got promoted on a job or promoted to another level? Right. Or are you going to be like, you know what? I'm gonna be doing my part in the fields, or I'm gonna do my part in the house, and still have access to all that my Father in heaven has. I still got it all. I have a chance for every bit of. I'm part of every bit of that comes out.
Thank you for listening to our podcast today, The Call of a Mentor. If you'd like to leave a positive comment, or if you'd like to be on our show, please give us a call at 757-737-8714, or you can drop us a text message. You can also email us at communityservant85@yahoo.com. We look forward to hearing from you.
The Call of a Mentor is a production of Marriage Map Ministries and EOVBAA in association with Overwhelming Victory Radio. Our executive producers are Dwight and Angela McDowell and Dr. Greg Glenville, with Andrew Fouts as our associate producer. To find out more about Overwhelming Victory Radio or to listen to any of our sister podcasts, visit overwhelmingvictory.org.